Good evening. Welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the south. A real emergency. The South East Ambulance Service staffing crisis that's putting patients at risk, say MPs.
One person had to wait an hour for an ambulance to arrive after having a stroke.
Longer platforms, more carriages. South West Trains passengers get an upgrade, but they're warned, expect disruption.
Off to Wembley after a record-breaking run. Saints book their place thanks to an epic victory at Anfield.
And to boldly return, Sussex astronaut Tim Peake reveals plans for a second space mission. Good evening to you. A serious shortage of paramedics is putting patients at risk at a troubled ambulance service here in the south.
That's the warning from MPs and union leaders tonight as the South East Coast Ambulance Service battles a recruitment crisis.
The trust, which covers Sussex, Surrey and North East Hampshire, has already been put into special measures. There are currently more than 140 paramedic vacancies at CCAM. That's almost 1 in 6 positions unfilled.
And last month, 41 staff left frontline services, including 22 in A&E. It's expected the trust will be more than £7 million in debt at the end of this financial year.
Managers have even been on a recruitment drive in Australia to try and fill vacancies, as Malcolm Shaw now tells us.
It's a service in danger of buckling under the pressure. The demand for ambulances is steadily rising, but in our region, the South East Coast Ambulance Service is struggling to recruit enough frontline paramedics. There are currently almost 150 posts unfilled, or 1 in 6.
I know for a fact this is having a direct impact on performance because I've had people come to see me in surgery. One person had to wait an hour for an ambulance to arrive after having a stroke.
CCAM says recruiting paramedics is a national problem and it expects its own shortfall to improve in the coming months. This morning, CCAM's Board of Governors held a meeting here in Tangmere. CCAM wouldn't let us film the meeting or give us an interview on camera, but they tell us that they do have a comprehensive strategy to recruit more paramedics, even going as far afield as Australia to find suitable candidates. Today, the National Audit Office reported that, like many ambulance services, CCAM is still failing to meet the target for responding to the most urgent 999 calls. Last September, we reported how the family of Harry Williams waited almost an hour for an ambulance, the 8-year-old later dying from meningitis.
We weren't told that the ambulance had not been prioritised, and when you're waiting in that situation, you're expecting a vehicle and emergency crew to be there at your time of need.
Even when ambulances arrive at hospital, many have to wait hours to hand over their patients because A&E departments are so busy. In the CCAM area, it's the equivalent of 10 to 20 ambulances standing idle each day.
It's massively frustrating for us because we want to get those patients that are poorly into into a bed in A&E and seen by a doctor as soon as possible, and we're not able to do that.
CCAM remains in special measures after a controversial project which delayed the response to some calls coming via the 111 service. A new chief executive is due to take over in April. Malcolm Shaw, ITV News, Tangmere.
Thousands of rail passengers who use South West trains are being told to prepare for major disruption this summer during an upgrade of the network.
Yes, people are being warned to expect delays when 9 out of 25 platforms close at Waterloo and half of all services will be cancelled on some lines.
Key commuter routes to and from Bournemouth, Southampton, Portsmouth, Winchester, Salisbury and Basingstoke will be affected as fewer trains will run.
The £800 million upgrade will mean longer platforms on the Reading line for trains with 10 carriages.
There'll also be 150 new congestion busting carriages, so there'll be 30% more capacity at rush hour.
Well, South West Trains make 650,000 journeys a day with 1,700 trains in service. It is the busiest commuter railway in Europe.
The work begins in August. Today, the full details were published. Our transport correspondent Mike Pearce is live at Waterloo tonight. Mike, in reality, how disruptive will this be?
Well, this is the busiest station in the UK, and you can see behind me here, it's about the busiest minute of the day. 300,000 passengers pass through here every day, so if you cancel half the service, that will have an impact. I've been talking to commuters about how it's going to affect them. South West Trains is at its busiest times at bursting point. Passenger numbers have doubled over the last 20 years. This was Basingstoke at 7 this morning. More capacity is urgently needed.
It gets very crowded in the trains, so I think again it's a very good idea if they are thinking about improving the Waterloo station.
60% of the time the trains that I'm getting, you're standing.
It's getting worse, but we used to have a seat all the time, but yeah, it's getting worse.
We took a ride in the driver's cab, and it's clear to see how busy it is, both on the platforms and on the tracks. The solution is a record £800 million upgrade. Longer platforms for 10-carriage trains, 150 new carriages, 5 new platforms at the old Eurostar terminal, helping to ease capacity by 30%. But the work will mean 9 platform closures during most of August, with fewer trains and disruption.
For the main suburban side and for the main line, we will run about half the amount of trains which we normally run, but we will run longer trains to provide more capacity, or as much capacity as possible.
Why August? Because that's a time when obviously lots of people want to come to London for trips and things like that.
Well, the decision was made some time ago because the blockade needs to be longer than 5 to 8 days, and August typically is the quietest period from normal commuter and people working in London.
I mean, that would be quite a stressful because obviously still coming into work doesn't stop for me, so less trains is never a good thing.
Personally, I'll be away on holiday, but you've got to do it sometime, haven't you? So you've got to grin and bear it for the long term.
I think that probably is the best time of the year to actually do those improvements.
Today, passengers were given virtual headsets to see how the new upgraded Waterloo will look. The advice, though, is to plan ahead. Well, here at Waterloo behind us, you've got the former Eurostar terminal. They've already started the work there for 5 new platforms. Becky Lumlock's with me from Network Rail. The whole of August seems a long time for this work.
The scale of work that we'll actually be doing is really very significant, both in terms of the amount of new track that will be laid and also the extension of platforms 1 to 4 that we'll be doing here at Waterloo. And overall on the project, we're investing £800 million to get a 30% increase in capacity here at Waterloo.
It sounds really good. At the end of the day, are passengers really going to benefit?
Absolutely they are. So at the end of the project, we're going to be seeing longer trains. There's going to be 150 new carriages coming. We're going to have longer platforms to accommodate those longer trains. We're also going to be having more trains, and we're actually going to have 5 new platforms because of redeveloping the previous Waterloo International Terminal.
OK, well, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and that work absolutely vital, passengers are telling us, to get them to and from work.
Mike, thank you. The leader of Portsmouth City Council says she's deeply concerned after a deal to set up a new authority for the Solent area has been stopped by the government. Hampshire County Council didn't support plans for a new Solent deal backed by Southampton, Portsmouth and the Isle of Wight councils. It would have been overseen by an elected mayor and take on services currently managed by central government.
We have missed out on the opportunity to substantially update and upgrade a number of our key roads and the infrastructure such as rail, broadband infrastructure, which helps businesses. And unfortunately, the loss of this almost £1 billion worth of investment for South Hampshire and the Isle of Wight is a substantial blow. Devolution can still go ahead, but it won't be necessarily on the terms that it was previously.
Watching ITV News here in the Meridian region. For more on all of our stories, do head to itv.com/Meridian. You can give us a call or get in touch via Facebook, or should you prefer, why not send us a tweet at ITV Meridian.
The Labour Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn has told this programme he welcomes suggestions that the government might be planning to take the Southern Rail franchise away from its operator and run it themselves.
Yes, he also told us he believes the rail safety regulator got it wrong when he said driver-only operated trains are safe. Mr Corbyn also defended his decision to back the government over triggering Article 50 to leave the EU.
He's been speaking to our political correspondent Phil Hornby.
The reports in today's papers that the government are considering stepping in, taking the franchise off Southern and running it themselves. Would you welcome that?
Well, it's about time they stepped in and did something, because they've been funding Southern Rail despite its appalling service and its appalling industrial relations for a very long time.
Would it be better if Chris Grayling ran it?
Well, I hope it won't be Chris Grayling personally running it, but it would then be accountable to Parliament for what it does, and we would obviously be raising issues on it. And I think bringing in Direct Rail to run it straight away would be a very good thing. Bring them in to do it, because this is really not acceptable. Too many people are having too many problems about getting to work, getting to school, getting to college, and the industrial relations are a problem because of the attitude Southern Rail have taken.
Have you been on the picket line yet?
I've been talking to ASLEF and
you said you were going to stand on the picket line.
No, I haven't.
Said you were happy to.
I said I was happy to. I've been talking to ASLEF, talking to the RMT, talking to TSA, all the unions involved.
How would you standing on a picket line help solve this strike?
Pointing out that those people who are taking action are not going to gain anything from it. What they were doing was taking action because they believed that what was being proposed by Southern Rail would put too many passengers at risk with the loss of staff on the trains itself. Do you think
they're correct when they say that? Because all the officials say it's completely safe.
Listen, on a train there's a lot of people. On a train there are huge responsibilities to the driver. I think it should be quite clear that the train staff are there to support the driver and ensure that there's safe access and leaving of the trains. And I think on-train staff are very important. Listen, travelling on a Southern train, when you've got maybe 800,000 people on a train, many of whom are standing, there's got to be a safety consideration. There's got to, in my view, be staff on the train in those circumstances.
So you think the safety regulators got it wrong?
I think the safety regulator gave a very nuanced report on this.
We've been asking people for questions for you, like you asked for questions at Prime Minister's Questions. Mark Palmer, who originally comes from Maidenhead, which you may have heard of.
Hello, Mark.
Why haven't you got the guts to oppose Brexit? It will hit the very working class people you claim to represent. You don't have the guts.
There's been a referendum in Britain. That referendum came to a decision. It's a democratic decision. We will be supporting implementing of Article 50.
And what do you say to MPs like Hove's Peter Kyle, who says he will not support a vote to trigger Article 50?
I say to Peter, we're putting forward our motions which will be designed to protect jobs and protect the economy and ensure there's an effective relationship with Europe outside of the EU.
Looking ahead to the county council elections, the south of England isn't exactly Labour heartland. How can you possibly make gains in May with the way you're performing and the way your party's performing?
We'll be out there on the National Health Service, on social care, on social justice, on housing, on transport, all the things that matter to people day in, day out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Phil Hornby there. In other news, IKEA has confirmed it's looking to open its first store in Sussex. The Swedish furniture giant, which opened in Reading last summer, is looking at land at New Monk's Farm in Lancing as part of a £150 million plan, including 600 new homes. If given permission, the new store would open in 2019, creating more than 400 new jobs. The plans will go on show at the Shoreham Centre tomorrow and Saturday.
Foundations of Roman houses have been found under a park in Chichester. Archaeologists have uncovered 3 near-complete buildings at Priory Park, the footings of which have survived more than 1,600 years. 3D scans have also revealed another Roman street running further east.
Now, a new year often means a new start for a lot of us. Resolutions to take more exercise and tidy up our lives.
Sounds familiar? Well, ITV's Tonight programme at 7:30 has been looking at just what goes to waste in our lives and how clearing out the clutter could save us money. Here's Kevin Ashford.
Catherine Tyler knows all about unwanted clutter. A self-employed shoe designer works from home, or at least she tries to.
One of the big areas that gets me down is my office. I spend all day in here. I dump things on my desk and I end up with all this clutter and I can't concentrate on my work. I can't enjoy being in here. I just feel like if it was all tidy and clean and everything had a place, I think it would change my life to feel like my house was somewhere that I could be happy all the time.
Help is at hand thanks to experts like Rachel Patworth.
Hello, Catherine.
Hello, I'm Rachel. Hi, nice to meet you. Are you ready to start decluttering? Yes. Come in.
It has all sorts of detrimental effects when we've got clutter. It sucks up your time because you're looking for stuff, you don't know where it is. You're going out and buying stuff that you've already got in the house, and therefore it's sucking up your money as well.
Okay. Catherine's not alone. It's estimated our homes are overflowing with some £32 billion worth of unused goods. 1 in 3 of us hoards enough stuff to completely fill a bedroom. One thing it seems we don't have problems throwing out, though, is food. The average home chucks out £700 worth of it every year, with supermarkets following suit, but on a much bigger scale.
M&S is that side, please. Got Sainsbury's and Morrison's.
To try to tackle the problem, chef Adam Smith founded the Real Junk Food Project, which now has a waste food supermarket to go with cafes in 7 different countries, with customers paying what they can afford.
We have relationships with national supermarkets, we get food from food bank waste, we get food from photographers, catering waste, restaurants, cafes, you name it. And the amounts that we're dealing with are just absolutely criminal right now. I think in the last 4 weeks we've now got 400 tonnes coming.
So whether it's wasting less or clearing out more, it seems we can all learn some new ways of living for 2017. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
Well, we've been asking if you've got clutter in your house.
Yeah, Richard Smith from Easties says they've got far too much. We really need to start cleaning it out. He says, well, get on with it, Richard.
And Claire Fallon from Wimborne says she is moving house at the moment and has so much stuff. She's cleared loads and is still taking too much with her. I know what it's like.
Take it,
Clothes,
Claire. Just
shoes,
leave it behind.
I know.
Oh,
It's hard sometimes. You get emotionally attacked.
I know it is.
Okay.
Thank you for all your comments.
You can see that tonight, by the way, 7:30. A former Marine has overcome his fear of horses to raise money for a little boy who has cerebral palsy.
Yes, Lee Stewart learned to canter and jump in just 1 day so he could raise vital funds for Harry Charlesworth, who had a series of strokes when he was born. Liz Summers has got more.
This is not Lee Stewart's idea of fun. The former Marine, who's afraid of horses, is much more comfortable skydiving than saddling up. But he's set himself the challenge to canter and jump in 1 day to raise money for Harry, who has cerebral palsy.
It's a scary thing to do if you've never been near a horse, but I saw Harry this morning. You know, you see all the problems that he's got, and Harry's always got a smile on his face, always happy and cheerful. I think if he can go through that, the least I can do is get on a horse and jump it over a fence just to try and raise a little bit of money for him to make him a bit more comfortable.
Harry had a series of strokes when he was born. He's almost 2 now, but struggles to move, eat and see. Volunteer fundraisers like Lee raise vital funds for the Helping Harry Trust.
Means the world to us. It'll pay for Harry to have physio sessions. He can go to brain therapy.
But the main thing really is making sure that Harry has the treatment and the care and the equipment so that he is able to lead as happy a life as possible. So
Lee's hoping to achieve the same goal with a little help from William. The friendship between the pair took a little while to warm up, but after a few hours, they broke into a canter and even did a little jump.
Okay, we're getting on just fine now, William. Give me a little lick on the face. Yeah, he's brilliant. I don't know anything about horses, but first impressions, getting on like a house on fire, and he seems like a good lad to me. All right, mate.
Lee's lesson has clearly been a huge success. It could also be the start of a beautiful friendship.
And let's hope it will be. Now the sport with Andrew Pate. Whichever way you look at it, Andrew, whichever football team you support, an outstanding achievement.
Absolutely. We're off to Wembley.
Hey.
Yes, Southampton are through to their first major Wembley final since 1979, winning at Liverpool last night. And what did it mean to manager Claude Puel? Well, it is fair to say he was a little bit excited. And who can blame him? The Saints have faced Premier League opposition throughout their run to the EFL Cup final, beating Crystal Palace, Sunderland, Arsenal and Liverpool twice. He's still going. And here is that historic win at Anfield.
cannot believe he spent the whole match on the bench.
Are you ever going to get off the bench?
Selco, sponsoring ITV Meridian Sports Report.
Southampton are the first team to get to the League Cup final without conceding a goal. They had a slender 1-0 advantage from the first leg, but could have doubled that through Dusan Tadic. In the second half, Liverpool stormed forward and so nearly scored, Fraser Foster desperately clearing off his line. England striker Daniel Sturridge had chances too, but couldn't find the target. And then, in the 90th minute, young Josh Sims broke upfield. To cap off a week in which he signed a new 3-year deal, he set up Shane Long, and the Irishman sent the Saints fans crazy.
Yeah, it was amazing, you know, getting a winner in the last minute and knowing that that's enough to put us through and just holding on for 2 or 3 minutes more. It's an amazing feeling, you know, in front of our own fans. You know, there's a lot of hard work went into that, and it's just pure ecstatic at the end. It's a massive thing for a club like Southampton to get to a final, and, you know, to give the fans something they deserve a day at Wembley and hopefully a medal at the end of it.
They'll play either Man United or Hull. Tickets go on sale on February the 2nd to selected season ticket holders. All the information on our website. Meanwhile, Chinese company Lander Sports Development say they've struck a deal to buy into Southampton Football Club, with reports saying they're ready to invest £200 million. But Saints owner Katerina Liebert says a potential partnership would need to clear multiple approvals and fulfil strict criteria. Any steps we do take will be in the best interests of the club. So, of course, we'll be keeping a keen eye on that one.
Now go and have a lay down.
Thank you.
Well done, Pete.
Thank you.
The star-studded National Television Awards were watched by more than 5 million viewers here on ITV last night, with Brighton hairdressers Stephen Webb and Chris Steed picking up the award for the smash hit show Gogglebox.
Lauren Hall was there for us.
It was quite a night, one of the biggest of the year in British television. A chance for some of our favourite TV stars to catch up and celebrate their achievements together.
It's always nice to do award shows, you know, because as you say, you can catch up with people you haven't seen for a long time.
People you haven't seen in a while, people you just see as a viewer on other TV programmes. Tonight's a great catch-up.
I love a bit of star spotting, like, oh, look who's over there.
There were plenty to spot on the red carpet, including these two, once again up for the Presenter Award, which they've already taken home for the past 15 years.
Surely you're out of room in that trophy cabinet by now.
There's always room for more.
Just as well.
And the National Television Award goes to Anton Degg.
They made it a hat-trick with awards for Saturday Night Takeaway and I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
This is just mad. It's gone mad, Degg.
No surprises there then. What was a surprise was Emmerdale winning the Battle of the Soaps.
This is a first for us. It's the first, and we are so grateful.
Our favourite Goggleboxers, Chris and Stephen from Brighton, took to the stage to pick up the Best Factual Entertainment Award.
Thank you to everyone that voted. Woo!
There was also a special recognition award for Graham Norton.
I know this is a sort of NTA pity party, because it's the only way I can get one of these over Anton Degg.
He does have a point, although Anton Degg aren't the only double act to do well at the National Television Awards. Holly and Phil were on stage once again, picking up an award for This Morning. So would we see a repeat of last year, when they famously partied through the night?
Tomorrow we've got work, so obviously we're going to be very professional.
You'll be home really early.
Really early, yeah, very, very early. Maybe read a couple of chapters of my book and then bed, I think.
Yes,
absolutely,
maybe. Yeah. No overindulging at all.
No.
A likely story. We can't believe that any of the winners managed to get an early night. After all, they had a lot to celebrate. Lauren Hall, ITV News.
Well done all. Sussex astronaut Tim Peake today announced he's going back to space.
Yes, Major Tim from Westbourne clearly wasn't put off by his rather bumpy landing last summer and the sight of burn marks on his capsule, which went on display at the British Science Museum today. Sally Simmons has more.
Major Tim Peake with Soyuz TMA-19M, the craft that took him to space and that he relied on to bring him back. For 6 months, he monitored his lifeline back to Earth from the window of the International Space Station.
Now, naturally, I'm quite fond of this spacecraft. We go back a bit. This thing is our lifeboat for 6 months. It is the only way of getting back to Earth safely.
Scorch marks on the Soyuz, now on display at the British Science Museum, are a clue to the 1,000-degree heat on re-entry and the 17,000-mile-an-hour ride back to Earth. But the bumpy landing hasn't put Major Tim off. He's just announced he's going back. The first British astronaut ever to walk in space captured the imagination of children and adults, and our own Fred Dinage, who luckily would be far too tall to squeeze into Soyuz.
If you think this thing looks a little bit cosy when you have a look through the window, spare a thought for what it's like when you're actually sat in there with about 200 kilograms of extra cargo as well all around you. It's one of the few times I've been grateful that I'm only 5'8".
Tim Peake's parents in Westbourne near Chichester are amazed at the enthusiasm for their son's mission. The whole family want to inspire the next generation to follow their dreams, and today they can see and touch the capsule and feel the reality. Sally Simmons, ITV News.
Brilliant. The inspirational Simon now.
Yeah, I'm staying up in the air, not
Yes.
quite as high as Tim Peake, but a little bit closer to the ground, because this weekend, time to release your inner Chris Packham. The big Garden Birdwatch is back. Last year, 520,000 of us counted more than 8 million birds. Here are some of the pictures to get you inspired. That was your number one bird, photographed by Elliot Carlton. That's the house sparrow, 4 seen in each garden. Bill Simmons in Seaford took this brilliant picture of a redwing enjoying breakfast of frosty berries. And Penny Day in Cheriton struck lucky with a visit from one of these. Europe's smallest bird, don't you know? The gold crest.
Pretty.
And how about this? Very sweet. Look, that's a long-tailed tit, last year's number 10, from Anthony Morris in Farmore in Oxfordshire, whilst Harry Harmon took this great shot of a juvenile buzzard in Gosport. They are now the commonest and most widespread UK bird of prey. All the details are on my blog on the website of how you can take part and how you can recognise the different birds. Just an hour this weekend.
From Birdwatch to Weatherwatch, the one and only Simon Parkin.
From blizzards to pool, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
OK, so it's been cold, but we have had some very fine weather this last few days. And images like this have been coming in. Who doesn't love a frosty web? Probably the spider who lives in it. And of course, dog walkers have been blessed with some gorgeous conditions. And, well, we've missed the smell of wet dog. But don't worry, it'll return as we head through the weekend, because things are going to get a bit more unsettled. Low pressure out to the west is going to start to take control. And that's going to squeeze away that colder air. But the cost is that we're going to see the winds strengthening, and we're also going to see some bits and bobs of rain at times too. So certainly a different feel to look forward to. As for tonight's, well, it's still very chilly. We've got clear skies to start the night. A widespread frost developing too, some patchy mist here and there. But up from the south, we're going to see the clouds start to increase through the early hours, and that could bring with it 1 or 2 bits and pieces of showery rain. Could be wintry over the higher ground, with temperatures largely down into the minuses. It's just along the coast around the Isle of Wight that we've got temperatures still in the pluses. So for Friday, it's going to be a grey start, bit of cloud on top of us to begin with. As we head through the day, well, there might be an odd spot of rain here and there, though many of us will stay dry through daylight hours. Temperatures going in the right direction, but still nothing to get excited about, anywhere between 5 and 8 degrees. And it's as we head into tomorrow night that the first of the weather fronts from the west is going to merge with the rain that we've already seen, making for some wet conditions to take us into Saturday. As for your high tide times, well, you can see in Poole, 10 to 8 in the morning, just before 9 in the evening, and then a bit of a damp Saturday to look forward to.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
In just a moment, we've got the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
Anita's got our late news. Join her if you can. But for now, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you very much for watching. Take care. See you soon.
See you later. Bye-bye.